This video is going to be a little bit different than my usual videos. First of all, I'm in my car because I needed some zen time. Drive around and listen to music and get my head right. But I know that usually my edges are right, so I can't be talking about KJ not have. Okay. So earlier I released my video, and I was kind of like mad about the Caroline thing. This lady actually said, like, oh, if she wants to talk to me, like, I'll say sorry or whatever. Why should somebody have to go looking for you to be like, hey Katie, it's me, it's Caroline, I'm here, I'm ready for you to say sorry now? No, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. So Caroline saw my video, and I was under the assumption that Caroline already knew that about, Katie's video saying Katie's like, I don't know who Caroline is. I don't know. That's bullshit. You know why? Because her and Caroline had been having correspondence and shit. They were corresponding. Made Caroline swear. Do you know how awful you have to be to make that sweet girl swear? Like, that girl don't swear. You could tell. She did not want to do that.
Say my name, bitch.
She said Walter White on her ass. Say my name, bitch. She was like, look, I'm gonna use profanity. I'm just letting you know. Like, who warns you first? When people use profanity, they usually don't warn you first, but it's nice to have a warning. So
You to eat, and I'm putting that out there, but okay, she is going to continue to eat because fuck me.
Poor Caroline over here. Not only did Caroline get shit on for, the whole Eminem Gate thing, right? But she was still kind enough to reach out to KJ and be like, hey, I know that you are upset that no one really asked you to talk about your side. Like, hey, you're more than welcome to come to my channel and talk about your side, Caroline said to her. Caroline, you're so nice. You are so freaking nice. I would never. If somebody shit on me like that, I would never invite them to my channel. But you're a better person than I am, Caroline. You really are, because I would not. But anyways, Caroline invited her. KJ declined, of course, because, like, as she did with everybody who invited her on. Like, she was complaining that nobody wanted her side of the story, right? So people started asking her, like, oh, all right, you want to tell your side? Like, come to my channel. And she declined all of them, basically. And that night I was in the hospital with my son. I told everybody everything was fine, but it really wasn't. I was just kidding.
I'm in my room now. I can't breathe. 30, and it is, we have been here since like 2. It's crazy. It's like COVID central here.
I'm gonna need a mask for that because it makes it more dramatic. Okay, guys?
My poor buddy. He's so sick. I just had this on because there was a nurse and a doctor in here. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. I'm not gonna disclose too much of what's happening, but we're being admitted. So yeah, it's just crazy, you guys. We're in downtown St. Paul, and not very far from the Capitol. Thankfully, it's really quiet. There wasn't any protests that I could protesters out or anything.
Like, now that in retrospect, it really wasn't fine, and it really was crazy, and I really need something else to talk about besides the fact that I lie all the time. So Emily Baker, yeah, you're prejudiced. We know, okay? I know I said sorry to Emily the other night, but now I'm bored, and I just like shitting in people's yards just because I can. So
the National Guard is still down here, but there hasn't been a lot of looting or rioting over in the side of St. Paul.
And yeah. So, yeah, and it was a really big inconvenience because I was trying to live stream, and I was trying to make all my subscribers feel bad for me. So it was highly inconvenient, and I asked to talk to a manager because I'm like, look, I'm in the middle, I'm trying to tell them about my sick kid so, I could get some pity cash, and, yeah. And the hospital we were at, the walls were boarded up. We had to have police escorts, and the fish was this big. The fish was so big, you guys. The fish I caught, it was actually a shark. It wasn't even a fish. It was a shark. It was bigger than the boat, so we had to call in backup to get the other boat to bring in the boat for the fish, you know. And then yeah, so claim they tried to kidnap me, and Todd was like, look dude, I have skulls and bones in my shed, I have random seances on the daily, and if you want to take my wife, well, that's going to be a problem because I make screamo music and call it heavy metal, so you probably shouldn't. And they were like, oh, all right. So like I ended up staying, and they burnt the hospital down with me in it, and I'm a burn survivor. Definitely I have, like, to this day, a third of my body is just scarred from that night, you know. They just came and they just tried to destroy everything, and I made a huge donation to the hospital, and like luckily they rebuilt it the next day, thank God.
I can't go to any Black Lives Matter rallies because of my son. One of my husband's friends that he grew up with, I think Nicole or Nina, one of them is friends with George Floyd's fiance. So she was like messaging us and telling us like what a like sweet woman she was, and she knew George and liked him. Nice guy.
What happened next is Todd called his white nationalist friends, and they left their animal seance in my shed, and they came by and they were like, look, you guys gotta stop the rioting.
It was just scary, and that happened the same week that they were like burning everything down in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And my son's hospital is in downtown St. Paul. It was jarring, absolutely jarring, to be admitted into the hospital. And there's National Guardsmen literally right outside the front door with like automatic weapons. It was scary. I mean, you've got all of this unrest, and then they had the windows boarded up at the hospital because like when they were burning everything down that night, it was so scary. They had the National Guard protecting the hospital where my son had heart surgery because rioters were coming towards the hospital. I don't know, it was bizarre. And at night, then these groups were like driving around. One of my friends was, not very far from the Capitol. Thankfully, it's really quiet. There wasn't any protesters out or anything.
So get on that. I want to talk to a man. I'll have my YouTube manager come in. Like, my YouTube manager will tell your manager not to tell anybody.
We had the Ku Klux. The K was here too.
Okay. So the fish was really big. The KK, man, they came in the room with the guns, and they were like, we're taking you, KJ. We want your crystal balls, and you be quiet over there, Heavy Metal. And then Heavy Metal stood up. He was like, look, this is my wife. If you take her, I will join your clan. Let's just go, man. I've been dying for the KK to come into my life so I could just be, you know, nationalist. So, look, let's go to the hospital. They jumped on their horses and they put their white hoods on, and they were like, yo, let's go. That happened. And then, you know, the kid had to have brain surgery, back surgery, hand surgery. That, like, it was a disaster. And yeah, so the fish was really big, and my YouTube manager, he was there, and the KKK came, and they burnt the hospital down with me inside. Like, the hospital got burnt down. I was inside of the hospital. Thank God I was at the hospital at the time. They were able to save me. And the rioters were like, all right, here we are. Yep, bet you didn't know that story, did you? Because we all know if everything wasn't fine, that I would have been filming that shit. I would have been on it. I would have been talking about it nonstop. But now all of a sudden, here we are in December, and just kidding, the National Guard was there. The windows were boarded up, and it was rough, man. I had to go out. Thank God I had full body armor. I went out there, and I told everybody enough, man. And they were all like, all right, that's enough. And I told the rioters to just go home and to subscribe to my channel, and they did. And everything's fine now. Like, I saved Minneapolis. You didn't know that? Like, what the fuck?